Well, hello again, everybody. This is Mayor Matt Starr from the city of Mount Vernon, and this is the series Chats with Mayor Matt. And today I have my special guest is Sergeant Troy Glazier of the Mount Vernon Police Department, and Sergeant Glazier is looking at the goal line of his career here. So, how many more much more time do you have before you retire?
It'll be a week from tomorrow. I have 8 days.
Well, we'll have to make sure we get this thing out before you retire, so you can get some grief from your fellow officers over there. Anyway, but we're going to talk about a pretty cool thing that City Council purchased or approved the purchase for the police department. This piece of equipment that gives feedback to the public, and we've found some pretty interesting results. So, Sergeant, can you tell us a little bit of what is this piece of equipment that we got, and what does it do?
We bought this piece of equipment from a company called Radar Sign, and it's basically a digital display of your speed when you're driving down the road. It generally would attach to a speed limit sign so that you can see what the speed limit sign is for that street, and then it would show a display of what your actual speed is as you're driving towards it.
Now, we had one of these similar to this, but this is different in design. Can you tell a little bit about how this differs from what we had?
Yes, we did have what we called a speed trailer, and it was a trailer that had the display mounted to it. The speed trailer had batteries in it, as well as a solar panel that you could put it out for several weeks at a time and display speeds, and you can go out and move it around, with the vehicle and put it in different areas.
But it was the old one is a lot more cumbersome, is it not?
Yeah, it was heavy. It was
this
a handful for one person to move around. And it didn't always work in every area, but it's something that the health department purchased quite some years ago, probably 20 years ago at least, for the whole county. Actually, we're just the keepers of it, but the Knox County Sheriff's Department would borrow it from time to time, so would Fredericktown Police Department and Danville, and set it up in their areas too. Mm-hmm.
So now this one is a lot easier to handle. You can handle this with one staff person, correct?
Yeah, this is a portable device that has rechargeable batteries in it, and it weighs about 38 pounds total. That, like I said, you can either mount it to a speed limit sign, or you could mount it to a power pole as well.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about. Tell us a little bit about where did you put this out? We just want to hear the story. Where did you put this, and what did you find out here?
We put it out in several different locations. It not only would show you an instant display of the speed of the cars coming down the road, but it also has software in it to where it will record the count of the vehicles, and it will also record their speeds. So you can go back and print out graphs and charts to show, for the particular days of the week and times of the day when cars are speeding more than others, mm-hmm. which is pretty helpful for us if we get a complaint of speeding in a certain area. Instead of having several officers go out over a 24-hour period and set, we can put this out there, not have the display on, so it just records vehicle counts and speeds to see what is the best time of day to put an officer out there for enforcement, which could be, local it down to maybe an hour or two during the day is the worst offenders for speed in that area.
So it's a huge time saver and money saver and staff saver, I guess, if you will.
Sure.
It gives you that immediate feedback. Sure. But I think what's really cool about this is that, I mean, sometimes I may not be aware of it if I'm speeding. And if you see that, I see speed limit signs, but I might just be in the zone, and right. I'm not trying to make excuses or anything. But if I see that sign flashing, oh my gosh, I'm going too fast, my instinct is to slow down, obviously. Is that what you see happen when you put these out?
And that's exactly what it's designed to do, is to kind of change people's behavior. We're kind of creatures of habit, to where, we drive the same route to work every day, same route home, and you don't always pay attention to your surroundings or other vehicles going to work or, back home. So if something new pops up in your route, in your daily travels, it kind of catches your interest, even mm-hmm. if it's like road construction, it starts, on a particular day, it's like, oh, I see a road construction sign up there, what's going on? It's something different out of the ordinary. So it makes you be a little bit more aware of what you're doing, because a lot of drivers, unfortunately, are kind of inattentive in their normal route. Where people say I could probably drive home with my eyes closed.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So it's just something to spark that, just to be aware of, hey, I know you've driven past that speed limit sign 1,000 times and you've seen it, but you don't always pay attention to it. And you don't always pay attention to your speed. So this, it's pretty bright when it flashes your speed on the screen. So it does draw your attention to it.
And I think I like the notion that people will self-regulate if they get feedback.
Yes, definitely.
And I think study after study shows that as well. And I didn't realize I was doing that. So, well, what can you tell me a little bit about? What can you tell the citizens a little bit about what you found when you started putting this out and about town? Where did you put it, and peak times, and what did motorist behavior look like?
A couple areas that I've put it out where we saw a noticeable change in behavior is Mansfield Avenue, coming into the city, Verndale Drive, definitely, cars coming down the hill, and cars even going up the hill on Verndale Drive. They're speeding in both directions there, and we get numerous complaints over the years about that area. So
now, Verndale, was that up on the hill, or was that?
I put it at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, okay,
when I put it out there, and you'd see people speeding up the hill, people speeding down the hill. So, but we had a person call in a complaint, so I went out the next week, put the sign out, and the person called back in and said that made a huge impact on the cars in the area there. I mean, he could see it from his house that cars were definitely going slower. It was changing people's behavior, and that's what it was designed to do.
Ah, great.
So
that particular neighborhood liked it.
Yes, definitely.
Did you get any feedback from the Mansfield Avenue folks?
I did not. That was just an area I picked on my own, because I knew over the years that was just a problem area when you go from 45 to 35 into 25 zone, that, people will go past the 25 sign quite some distance before they actually start slowing down. And they usually don't start slowing down until they get to a stop sign or a stoplight or traffic picks up.
Right. Where else did you see? Did you see any other differences from other neighborhoods?
Well, we had it out on North Sandusky Street here recently to get a traffic count and speeds, which I knew it was going to be a high traffic count and high speeds in that area. So generally what I would do is I would take the sign out and post it and not have the display on, so we can record maybe more truer speeds. I think there's probably a lot of people that would drive by the sign after I put it out and not even realize that it's something new right there until I turn it on. So what the company recommends is you put the sign out for a week, not have the display on, and you record vehicle counts and speeds. Then you go out the second week and you turn the display on for another week, and then you take and look at those 2 weeks in the software and see how much of a difference it actually made on reducing the speeds in that area. And we've actually seen that on the spreadsheets that I've printed out, that it's a noticeable, 10, 20, 30% difference in getting people to slow down in those areas.
Nice.
At least.
Nice. Again, getting that feedback and people having the opportunity. People will self-regulate if they give the chance, and they will. Yeah.
They will.
I think I said it before, I just like it because it doesn't require a cop to be out there busting people. People can self-regulate, and so that's a pretty cool thing. So, what else can you tell us about the this mobile speed limit sign, and what are people telling you about it?
People like it. Especially people live in the areas where you do get more frequent speeding than others. We'll get people calling and say, "Hey, thank you for coming out and putting that out." We used to get people calling when we'd put our speed trailer out. Thank you for doing that. Bringing in awareness to the area that hey, people need to slow down. So it's nice to hear that those devices are actually working. And like you said, we don't have to post an officer out there in a cruiser. You know, they can be doing other things, and the sign can be doing that part of the job for them.
Right. And then if you do need to eventually, you've got hard data that tells you when you need to be,
Yes.
when you need to post somebody
Exactly.
out there. So
Exactly.
it's not like we're just trying to go out to just bust people. That's not our. We want people to change their behavior. That's it.
No, and when we first got it and I first started putting it out, we did have a few people call in that thought it was one of those devices like a red light camera at an intersection.
Yeah.
So that if you ran the red light, you might get a ticket in the mail for that. That is not the case with this. This does not have a camera in it. It just has a radar just to record speeds and vehicle counts. So,
have any of the other patrol officers talked with you about it, and what's their feedback been on it?
Same thing, that it gets people to slow down. When I go out to put it up, you know, sometimes I'll have a few cars just go flying by, and I'm thinking, wow, I wish I just had that up 5 minutes ago to see how fast they were going, because they had been doing 20 or more over the speed limit. So as soon as I put it up and turn the display on, you just stand back off to the side, and you'll see the front end of the cars actually start to do a little nosedive, that they're going more over the speed limit of what they should be, and then they realize it when they see the sign, and they hit the brakes hard, and it's a noticeable visual clue that, you know, that they were going over the speed limit. So it's pretty effective at that.
Well, is there any other specific data that you wanted to share with us today to just let people know as far as what kind of average speeds are we seeing at different places, and how is this in terms of numbers? What can you tell us there?
Don't really have those numbers in front of me at this time. I haven't sit down and actually worked up the percentages on it. I do have some graphs that, you know, show different days of the week, you know, before and after on those. And it also depends on how much over the speed limit you're talking to. So it kind of will break it down from 0 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit to 5 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and then 10 miles an hour above. So when it might show that there's 90% of the people speeding in that area, it could be 2 to 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, not necessarily 20 or 30 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Right.
So
you got to you got to really be careful about what conclusions you draw from the data.
Exactly. You really have to kind of get down into the data and really look at it hard to make sure that the majority of those cars are only doing 0 to 5 over the speed limit. You know.
Yeah. If nobody's not going 40 miles over the speed limit.
Exactly. And one thing this sign does have is you can set the upper end of what it will display for a speed.
Okay.
Because we don't want people out there driving as fast as they can to see if they can get it up to 80 miles an hour on the display.
Yeah.
So I will make it, you know, depending on if I'm in a 25 zone or 35 zone, I'll have to make a decision on what's the maximum speed limit I want it to show on there, just so you don't get people, what they say, racing the sign. That's what we don't want that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this has been a tremendous success for the police department. I know city council. You're going to be retired by the time we have our next city council meeting, but when we bring the information to them, I know that they're going to be paying very close attention to this, because it was one of those key purchases that we wanted to get, and stop using that old, although it was very helpful, that old trailer.
It does have its places for use, definitely. But this is just more portable. You know, it takes basically 5 minutes to set up, 5 minutes to take down. So one officer. Yeah, so it's pretty easy. It's also has Wi-Fi in it, so I can control, you know, turn the display on or off just through my phone or a laptop, which is kind of convenient. And that's what I actually did when we had it on North Sandusky Street. I put it out for a week with the display off, and then I was out doing something else at a time, and I thought, you know what, it's time to turn it back on. So I just parked half a block down the street and was able, within sight of it, to sync up with the device and turn the display on right on my phone. So that was pretty convenient, that I didn't have to go open it up and flip a switch and all that. So
Technology's wonderful, isn't it?
It is sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes when it works.
Yeah,
when it works, it's great. So, if people want to, if neighbors or want to find out more about this information, who do they need to call? Who do they need to get in touch with at the police department?
Since I'll be retiring soon, I would refer them to the Captain Scott McKnight.
Okay.
And then he would get it to the appropriate person to either have an officer go out there and sit, or we could put our speed trailer out or put the speed sign out, whatever was appropriate for the area.
Okay, very good. So anyway, well, okay, before you go, any particular highlights from your career in law enforcement that stand out for you at City of Mount Vernon here?
You do see a lot over a 30-year period. Sometimes you see the best in people, sometimes you see the worst in people.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of things that probably stick out with me is in 1993, I just happened to be on regular patrol on the midnight shift and was driving around the back of Knox Village Square. And I was coming up on the back door of JCPenney's store, and I had a guy come out the back door and kind of looks at me very surprised, and I'm looking at him surprised, thinking there's usually no cleaning people in at this time of the morning. And then I notice he's got a bandana around his face, he's wearing gloves, and he's carrying a two-way radio, and he takes off running up the hill towards the water tower on me. So I radioed dispatch. I was, in foot pursuit of a burglary suspect and chased him almost all the way to Yager Road from the back of what was JCPenney's, and ended up catching him in a big line of brush and taking him into custody. And then happened to find out later that he was the ringleader of a bunch of jewelry store thieves from the Youngstown area that were actually under surveillance by the FBI, but not that night.
Wow.
So this, kind of a rookie cop with 3 years on the job was able to get this guy and got him into custody, and we found out later who he was, and there was some other charges he had, but they were suspected in like 30 jewelry store robberies all over the state of Ohio.
Wow.
TJ Maxx, JCPenney's, local jewelry stores and stuff like that. So he had several people that was assisting him in that burglary, and they did get away with about $75,000 in jewelry, which we all recovered later through some good detective work from Denny Foster and Randy Bowers. But yeah, had they gotten away with the other couple of safes they had on dollies inside the store, it probably would have been about $250,000.
Oh my goodness!
In theft. So
you were just in the right place at the right time.
I was. So yeah, that was a pretty good highlight for my career there. And then the other one would probably be the Matthew Hoffman case. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it was a highlight of my career because of the circumstances involved in that. Nationally broadcasted case, but being able to save the 14-year-old girl from his home on Columbus Road, that was probably the best moment in my career.
Wow. The kind of relief that you all must have felt collectively.
Yeah, we were all hoping that she was still alive, but nobody knew. Mm-hmm. So we got the call early one Sunday morning to come in and gear up. We were assisting the Knox County Sheriff's Department through their investigation. Had 2 locations that we were looking at hitting, and we were tasked. I was the team leader for our emergency services unit at the time, so we were tasked with the Matthew Hoffman's actual residence on Columbus Road at the time. So when they had checked on the other location, and it was not a good location for him, we had a search warrant to go ahead and hit his house. We did, immediately took him into custody as soon as we got inside, and then began searching the house. So one of my partners on the team, Tim Arnold, he found the doorway to the basement. So we go down in the basement and happened to look into a crawl space area and saw the 14-year-old girl in the crawl space there, and she had duct taped over her mouth, and her hands and feet were bound with rope. And she was sitting on sleeping bags on top of a bed of leaves. So just getting eyes on her, seeing that she was alive and she was okay, that was a pretty special moment.
Oh, wow. I know the community side of a big sigh of relief when she came back alive and well. And anyway, I know you guys worked very hard on that case, and you do on every day. And I know we say it. I know we say thank you a lot, but it just never seems to be enough. Especially when you come into contact with a particular case like this, it's like, oh wow,
yeah,
you guys all earned your pay then.
Moments like that, nobody has to say thank you. It's just being able to be a part of that, just makes years on the job worth it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, well, listen, Sergeant, congratulations on a stellar career with the Mount Vernon Police Department. Thank you again for enlightening us on this portable speed sign.
No problem.
And feedback that we get from that. And we wish you well with your retirement, whatever you decide to do or not do. I hope you enjoy your time away from the city. So don't be afraid to come back and visit us.
Yep, I think I'll just be quarantining at home like everybody else for a little while.
Okay. All right. I want to say thanks to Sergeant Troy Glazier for being our guest today. And until our next podcast, this is Mayor Matt Starr signing off. Everybody stay safe, stay smart, and stay strong.